Hi there, this is Rakib. I will present our paper, a psychometric scale to measure individuals' value of other people's privacy, where we propose a scale that can help research studying privacy issues of existing and emerging technologies. Many technologies collect data about people who are not the users, such as applications accessing contact information and friends list or devices continuously sensing the environment. People also intentionally or incidentally disclose information about other people. For example, when we post photos online, often they reveal identity, location, and other sensitive data of people around us. Such data may facilitate harmful acts, including surveillance, stalking, and identity fraud. Collecting non-users' data at a massive scale can result in privacy harms that go beyond individuals and may lead to national crises. One such example is the Cambridge Analytica scandal. An app harvested data not only from its users but also from their Facebook friends, totaling to 87 million data subjects. This data was then reportedly used to profile people and influence their voting decision prior to the US presidential election in 2016. Many researchers have investigated privacy concerns of potential data subjects in different contexts and the perspectives of technology users. Studies proposed technical solutions including creating negotiation channels between users and data subjects and automated mechanisms to help users to protect non-users' data. Yet another line of research proposed behavioral nudges to encourage privacy-respecting behaviors. A fundamental gap in research is the absence of any mechanism to quantify whether a person cares about other people's privacy and by how much. Without such a measure, it is difficult to understand when there is a need for intervention, whether we should apply a technical or behavioral intervention, or how likely the intervention is to succeed. For example, if someone highly values other people's privacy, but their actions may threaten others' privacy, it could be due to their lack of knowledge about the potential harms, in which case an awareness intervention may be more appropriate. Or they may lack access to a privacy-enhancing tool or technical skills to use such a tool, in which case researchers may invent a usable tool or offer trainings to build technical skills. On the other hand, if an individual does not think that others' privacy is worth protecting, then nudges to alter their value system may be more appropriate. In this paper, we define the construct value of others' privacy and hypothesize that it is one of the fundamental driving forces behind altruistic behaviors such as protecting others' privacy by limiting technology's use or adopting privacy-enhancing tools. Our second contribution is creating a psychometric scale to measure this construct, and finally, we tested the scale's stability, robustness, and predictive power. Our construct is based on the theory of basic human values, according to which there are 10 fundamental values that drive all types of behaviors. These 4 values motivate behaviors in self-interest, and these 4 are socially focused values that motivate altruistic behaviors. We don't care too much about the other 2. We define the construct in a way to reflect some combination of these socially focused values, and we later empirically test whether the construct map onto these values. We define the value of others' privacy as the importance a person ascribes to the protection of other people's personal information. This entails also the ascription of importance to behaviors that are associated with protecting or putting at risk other people's personal information. Next, we developed a scale to quantify this construct. I will just gloss over the methods. So first, we generated items through surveying other researchers, literature review, and brainstorming sessions. Next, we refined the items and then validated these in a pilot study. In the first step of scale creation, we identified the factor structure through a user study and then empirically verified the factor structure through another study. Finally, we computed multiple reliability scores. Here we only report the composite reliability score, which is much higher than the minimum requirement of 0.6, indicating high reliability. The final scale has 13 items. Let's go through some of them to get a test. One item is I respect other people's privacy without exception. It is okay to listen to conversations of strangers in public places. So this is a reverse coded item. It is important for me to protect other people's privacy even when it is difficult to do so. So next, we focus on validating the scale. So one measure is convergence validity. The main idea behind this metric is that scales that measure similar concepts should relate to each other. We use the other interest scale by Garbazi et al. It measures one's motivation to act in other people's interest. So we expected our scale to correlate with it, and that's what we found. We also compared our scale with the concern about other people's privacy scale by Baruch et al. These two scales correlated highly, which is not surprising since we borrowed 2 items from this scale. Still, 75% variance in our scale was not explained by this scale. So these two scales are measuring slightly overlapping, but different constructs. Now let's look at divergence validity. The idea here is that scales measuring different concepts should not correlate. We use the self-interest scale by Garbazi et al. It measures one's motivation to act in self-interest. And there was no correlation between these two, and that's what we had expected. We further tested whether concern for self-privacy is enough to quantify value of others' privacy, in which case we would not need a new scale. So we used the scale by Buchanan et al. That measures concern for self-privacy, and it correlates significantly with our scale, but explains only 4% of the total variance. Thus, value of other people's privacy is clearly different than concern for self-privacy. Now let's look at how our scale correlates with personal focused and socially focused values. As the table shows, we found no correlation with the personal focused values, but all of the socially focused values had significant correlations with our scale, which was also expected. Finally, we evaluated whether our scale can predict related behaviors and opinions. We measured correlation with criteria items such as I have asked people for permission before taking their photograph. I own information I obtain about others. I have been accused of violating someone else's privacy. So we had 15 total items in total, and among these items, 10 had high correlations with the scale and other 4 items had moderate correlations. So we have a reliable and valid scale that can predict related behaviors and opinions. But why should you care? Is that something you can use, and how? A few ways to use the scale. First, the obvious one, to quantify how a person values others' privacy and how factors such as data type, audience, relation to data subjects, and so on moderate this value. We can study how the adoption and use of technology is affected by privacy valuation and other factors such as risk awareness and perceived benefits. Studying these relationships will help in inventing novel interventions and interactions to improve privacy. In summary, as we increasingly get surrounded by passive sensing devices, we believe this scale will help the community to systematically study privacy issues of non-users. Thank you so much for your attention. I look forward to your questions, comments, and suggestions.